Okay, so an interesting coincidence just happened. I'm not really sure what to start off with, but wait a minute. So, I'm going to start off with what I was thinking about earlier. I've thought about this a couple of times. I haven't mentioned this since the part 5 channel, or at least the part of this that happened when I was 16, but I was thinking about mentioning more examples of like things I've experienced myself, even to explain the whole thing with like how the demons in you talk to the demons and other people, revolving around the whole Marine Kingdom thing / spirit spouse agents or Marine Kingdom agent, and how people always talk about like Jezebelic or toxic or just like cheating boyfriends and husbands and stuff, or Marine Kingdom agents, which typically you attract those because you had those spirits yourself. And it doesn't mean that like it's your fault necessarily. It's just a generational thing, really. In fact, typically you get these types of issues generationally. Like, a lot of people talk about how most quote-unquote black women and even the men have a spirit spouse. But I feel like most people do in general, simply because the fact that the medical system and school system teaches people that masturbation and porn addiction is a good thing. And that's just one thing that would attract marine spirits, which typically still, you have them generationally already, regardless of what you do or don't do. And if you don't get them from getting S8, they set you up to be S8. Not even just in like childhood or something, but throughout your whole life, really. And one of the things I notice is that people often think that they don't have the spirits anymore because they've gotten rid of the most problematic demons that they had. So like they think, I'm trying to think of an example. Wait a minute. Okay, so like for example, they used to fight all the time because they got mad easily. Now they think that because they're not running around pulling people's tracks out, they don't have any demons anymore, but they still do have a lot from trauma or a couple or whatever, and even the generational curses as well. And me personally, I'm not even really going to go into the whole story with this, but I think that one of the things is that for me, I have to like work out my issues and like go through the deliverance process kind of on my own, but also I have to really be in a better situation for it, like a more ideal situation for it. And I think that's what it is with me, because people feel like, I don't know, deliverance works a certain way for everybody, but it's really a process. And like one thing I can say though is that getting over like the sexual addiction strongholds from the different generational curses and demons and stuff has been easier since escaping my abuse than while I was in it. Not that I didn't start working on it then and try to, because as I always mention, I already knew about the lust spirit. That was pretty obvious because I always was into like researching that type of stuff and even like Bible reading and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I was 8 and I really started trying to like research my issues that I had, especially from 3 to 11. But of course at this time from 3 to 8, I really started to research my issues to try to like figure out what to do. And that's when I found out about the term hypersexuality and hypersexuality disorder. And then I found out about the incubus and succubus spirits. But I didn't hear the term Marine Kingdom till, no, I think I did hear it then, but like I didn't really start researching the Marine Kingdom till 14. And I didn't even start researching that because of like the sexual issues. I actually really started researching that because I was researching like different things of my abuse, and that's when I found out about the term quote-unquote narcissist and the Jezebel, Leviathan, and etc. spirits, which are all also part of the Marine Kingdom, the strongest kingdom. And so like, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, I think I was saying that like I had been researching this stuff and trying to like figure out my own issues, but you can't really heal like that in a situation that's still unsafe and is causing your issues. And like, I also feel like that's even a part of like things with the deliverance process for me now. But I can definitely say just like the things that revolve around being homeless have helped me like with getting over those issues. But I will also say as well that one thing that I learned way before I even knew that I would ever get out of my abuse situation is that sometimes you feel like you've gotten over certain issues, but really, like especially when it comes to like limerence, attachment issues, or romantic obsessions, and hypersexuality, or different things revolving around paraphilias, you'll think you got over some issues, but you just haven't been around people because you've been in too many isolating situations, and in my case, due to the abuse situations, to actually like meet any more people that you like can form a romantic obsession with, or that the demons in you will like form a romantic obsession with, I guess, and not being around people in a long time that you find attractive. Like, for example, people would always try to make me feel like I had to have been a quote-unquote stud or dyke or something, which I really hate those terms. I also feel like they revolve around people that don't really fit the stereotypes for any gender or their ethnicity either in a lot of ways, which is kind of like a long rant I could go into. And so, like, it's kind of also a word curse, but like, because you don't fit the stereotypes that people want you to fit, and you're not walking around butt naked pretty much, which the dudes and the women do, both of them walk around with their butt out, but because you're not doing that, people feel like you think you're a dude or something. But anyways, to get back to the point, I always had people trying to make me feel like I was a quote-unquote stud or dyke because I didn't like the guys that were around because I wasn't attracted to guys who were in the feminine thug persona. Not that I didn't have paraphilias at the time and wasn't attracted to really just about anything, to be honest. But still, it's like, what point was I getting at? Oh yeah, that kind of goes into the whole isolation thing or only being around certain people. So like, I would sometimes have periods in my life where I wasn't around really anybody, or I just wasn't around types of people that I found attractive, or I guess more so that the demons found attractive, and will like try to get me to harass or whatever, especially when I was 3 to 11. And I think one of the worst things about it is that I already had the generational curses that set me up to deal with these issues. And so, kind of like what Pastor Stephen Darby used to say, you know, some of us knew we were too young to be dealing with the issues that we were dealing with, or something like this. And he was like, we know that we couldn't have caused all this spiritual warfare, and that these had to be mom and dad demons, or even great whoever demons, I would say. But yeah, so I'm trying to remember what point I was getting at though. Like, oh yeah, I think I was really supposed to start off with talking about how earlier I was thinking about how I wanted to make a video about like my experience at 16 with like Marine Kingdom agents and getting reeled in. And as I always talk about, well no, I don't even think I should go there yet. So, crap, wait a minute. Oh yeah, so I was thinking like, one of the things about Marine Kingdom agents are the chomo or R-worder ones, or I guess maybe more so the chomo ones, or really any of them, I guess. I don't really want to say, I mean, I guess you could consider it R-wording, but I'm thinking about more so consensual situations, not like things you didn't agree to. But as far as things you did agree to, if you're somebody who's already dealing with like sexual addiction yourself, or you just like, well not or, and you have marine spirits or perversion spirits or whatever, sexual demons and paraphilias, there's demonic arousal as well, which I mentioned before in a couple of videos. I know I mentioned it in like my more recent paraphilia ones, but I'm pretty sure, or at least I hope I mentioned it in the video about how about how sexual predators are Marine Kingdom agents. And so anyways, one of the things that the demons will try to do is to try to give you, and of course the perpetrator, the other person, demonic arousal, to try to get both of you to do whatever. And so it's like, one of the things is that even if you're like me and you're not one of the people that's like really, really desperate, if you like have sexual addiction in general, you'd still have to avoid the situations, not because you're desperate and lonely and you feel like you need somebody to help you, need somebody to take care of you and give you a place to stay, but because you could get the demonic arousal and be like dragged into certain situations. Like, for example, since the demons have already been studying you your whole life and they already know what you like and don't like, they may get the predator or the other person, if they're not, which I guess maybe what you would consider a sexual predator. I would say that there's paraphilias on both ends, really. A lot of people aren't going to like it and they're going to feel like it's victim blaming, but there are paraphilias on both ends, as I've mentioned before. Although I wouldn't really consider myself necessarily that much attracted to like older people. I wouldn't consider myself a gerontophile. I actually hate the whole gerontophile thing. I would say that like since I was like 4, I mostly like guys who are younger than me, but I never have dated anybody anyways, really, so it's kind of whatever. But I've never been the gerontophile type. But I will say that like what's the word, I guess I could say that maybe I could possibly get horny easily. I guess maybe that's the word for it. I don't know, but I forget how I used to describe it, because I used to talk about this stuff a lot when I was 14 and younger, but I haven't talked about it that much in like some years. Also because like I've been able to work on these issues, but since I've been where I'm at now, it's a lot of chomo preds around and R-worders and stuff. Just a lot of Marine Kingdom agents around where I'm currently at, and it's hard to like not run into them. And yeah, so anywho, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so like since they know what you like, or they just want to reel you into something, the sexual predator, a man or a woman, may like get naked or whatever, or they'll try to do whatever, or the demons will get them to do whatever to try to make you aroused, to agree to whatever, or to think you agree to something and then they do something else. So there's that as well. And like I remember, or at least I've had I'm forgetting stuff. Hold up, this is going to be all over the place. So I was thinking about that earlier, and I was like, I should make a video talking about how like Marine Kingdom agents, or the demons I guess I could say, in the person will like try to lure you into things or just do things to try to make you aroused. Kind of like in completely consensual situations, people may like mention how they'll be talking to some guy or some girl and they'll like be doing weird seductive stuff. So like people like seduction spirits, like how they'll look you in your eyes and stuff like that, or how they'll like start whispering to you. Like if you ever known those people that'll like start whispering in your ear and stuff, or like, or you go to their house and like you're watching TV or whatever, and then like their shirt's off, and then you're like, okay, why is your shirt off? And then you blink and then their pants are off, stuff like that. But especially like more common, the whole whispering thing, or how like people start talking in these weird tones of voice and things like that. But like I knew this one older lady who's like, I guess maybe 30 or something. She did stuff like that all the time, but she didn't even do it on purpose, because like she had like these spirits as well from generational stuff and her own trauma. And she was also toxic. And she was kind of mean as well, but like she would do those things that like a lot of Jezebelic women do, especially the covert sexually abusive moms. I mean covert SA moms. I was about to say SAE, but I don't think that really sounds right. So they'll do that thing where like they'll walk around naked just to get to you, or they'll like use the bathroom with the door open, or like whenever they want to bother you, they'll just like be naked for some reason. That's how like a lot of Jezebelic covert SA moms are. And I'm sure the dads do it too. Luckily that didn't happen to me. That would be like way worse, I feel. But I mean, it wasn't good at all, but that would have been way worse if my dad would have did that. But anyhow. Or if you're really unlucky, you'll have a covert SA mom that's infantilized and she'll give you showers. Which I guess, I don't know. I didn't have anybody like giving me showers. I did have people like watching me shower. I don't know which one is really worse. Although I wouldn't want my mom to wash me up. So yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's kind of like one of those bad option things. Kind of like when people make these jokes where they'll be like, would you rather have to like eat dog crap, or would you rather have to eat I don't know, somebody's toenails? And it's like, why are these the options? But anyhow, I was thinking about that. I know I've said that so many times because I keep losing my train of thought, and I'm trying to remember what happened after that though. And then I was thinking about the whole situation that happened when I was 16. No, I forgot something. Okay, so I forgot that, like, I opened TikTok, and I don't know why this is the first video that came up. I guess maybe people could probably tell from, like, the videos I guess TikTok was like, yeah, this is what you want to watch. I don't even use TikTok that much, to be honest. I'm really never on there, but it's like, I forget I have it, other than when I'm trying to sell those t-shirts that nobody buys. But anywho, this video came up, and it was some lady, and she was, I guess, doing some trend, but she was talking about I'm glad that the dude who was jerking off while giving a baby boy a haircut got arrested, but the mom needs to be arrested too for getting off to it. And I was like, well, I don't know what in the world, but it did make me think back to that whole thing that happened when I was 16, because one of the things that's like a trauma, something that I've been had, which I don't have it anymore. And that's the funny thing about it. I keep thinking a lot about how like a lot of things kind of just start to go away after you get out of abuse situations, but pretty much whenever I would get sad, I would get horny, and like, so like when my mom was beating me up, I would get horny, and like I remember like at this one point in time, I had this thing that a lot of people get where like you get turned on by arguing. I wouldn't start the arguments, but like when other people would argue with me, I would get turned on. But that's not why. I had been wanting to like fix these things, and I know like this video is probably going to get my channel taken down. Honestly, I feel like I've made worse videos throughout the years. I probably made worse videos at 8, to be honest. But anywho, so like wait a minute, I was 16, and this was when I was in GA still, and it was cold. I didn't have a sleeping bag then, and it was pretty cold then, because I think it was wintertime, and like I was thinking about, I needed a ride somewhere, because I got stuck in some shopping center, and I still think I forgot something. No, I was saying the barbershop video reminded me of this, if I didn't already say that. So this is that I was in the shopping center, and so what happened was that I was already horny, if I didn't already say that, and like a couple Marine Kingdom agents had already tried to like manipulate me into some stuff, and I was like, one of them got mad at me. It was like some deranged white dude that looked like he was on steroids, and I don't really remember much about that, but after that I started walking, and so this is actually, aside from what I had learned from women who have done this to me, this is actually the situation where like I really took note of the whole Marine Kingdom thing, with like how guys who are spirit spouse or Marine Kingdom agents, they'll bring up prostitution because they hope you are a prostitute. And I already had learned this stuff from women even before this dude, because like a lot of women would often accuse me of being a prostitute. But I've never been into that, and I've never felt like I had to do that. And I know the spiritual ramifications of that stuff, but in this situation, I got reeled in because I was already aroused, and this dude was also already aroused. And actually, the funny thing is, he worked at a barber shop that closed hours before. This was literally like 10 p.m. And he would just like sit in the barber shop and he would jerk off all day till like 4 a.m. and then he would leave and go home and then come back to work in the morning before his boss got back. And so like he was jerking off already, like, and for whatever reason he was like looking out the barber shop door. It was like cracked. I guess he was trying to like make sure nobody was like watching or whatever. I don't know what he really was paranoid about. The parking lot was mostly empty. There was like one car out there, but like some kids that worked at this pizza place had just got off, and yeah, there was that. And so like I'm trying to remember what else happened. Wait a minute. And so like I remember he started talking to me and he was like, do you want to come inside? But I already knew what he wanted to do, because one, I could already see the spirits, and I already knew that I had the demonic arousal as well. Multiple hours actually, before like before I had walked over there and I saw him. And so I could tell that like he was already jerking off for whatever reason at the door. And so like pretty much the Marine Kingdom agents, and really any demons, since they already like they're not omnipresent, but like the ones in me already know what I'm doing, and the ones that other people know what they're doing, and they know who's close by to who. And so they had already set things up for both of us to get reeled into the fiasco. And so he was like wiping himself off with the barber rags that they use for like washing people's hair and stuff, and wiping people's faces. And that's what that video reminded me of on TikTok. And I'm sure there's like news articles and stuff about it as well, and I was like, dang. And then like this one video, kind of like it wasn't blurred out, and I was like, dang, he's really big. But like it just made me think about the whole situation. But I never did like let the dude or really anybody like have sex with me, so like I didn't let that happen. But I do know that he was definitely the usual turned out guy, cause like I've never met any sexual predators that don't like anal or want anal. And I was like, no. And then he was like, so are you gonna have oral sex with me? And I was like, nah. And like even when I was a lot younger, because I recently had memories about this, because I forgot about when I had my phone sex addiction. So like when I had my phone sex addiction when I was 8 to 12, well, yeah, I think it was 8 to 12. I like have found some sites, and like people would always like think I was gonna be like one of those desperate kids with like low self-esteem. Luckily I never had that issue, but since I had sexual addiction anyways, I still like I was already pretty bad off enough. So like I never did send anybody else any pictures of me. I never would send any pictures. I would lie and say I would, but I would just like get the person to send me pictures, and then I would get off to them, and then I would like block them or whatever, but I would never send anybody anything. And then like sometimes they'd be mad and they'd be like, you lied to me, and I'd just be like, yep. Like I remember this one, actually no, maybe I shouldn't go into that, but anywho, to get back to the story though, so like I just remember being really aroused, and I even remember like when the guy was trying to dry hump me, he was like, you're already like really wet. And actually it was true, because I already was. just because like I already had the demonic arousal multiple hours before I had even walked near the barbershop and saw him. So like I was already horny, and he obviously already was too, because he'd been doing whatever the heck he'd been doing in there for hours. And so there was that, but he never finished though, luckily, which I'm actually glad about now. I was kind of mad then because I was really horny, but he didn't finish. He got tired because he was like, yeah, you're taking too long to finish, and then he was like, well, do you want to watch porn with me? And I was like, nah. I mean, corn, because I'm trying to not. This probably get taken down anyways. Maybe. I don't really think people watch my videos for real, because I really just like make them for me and like whoever's been through these types of things, to be honest. But he was, oh yeah, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that, because like I've been working on like getting over my corn addiction and stuff. Which I guess, like, since I got reeled into this, I didn't do the best job, but I never let him go inside of me, and I never actually have had anyone do that. And that's kind of the funny thing, though, about it, is that, like, as hypersexual as I've been throughout my life, I've never actually had sex with anybody. But it's a good thing, though. I actually, like, really tried really hard to avoid it, because, like, I didn't want to get caught up in, like, the soul tie rituals, although this was still a ritual, and, could have created some soul ties. It definitely could like still do some like demonic transference, but I didn't want to like, I never wanted to like get a lot of soul ties. Like I remember even when I was like 10 and stuff, and even younger, I didn't want to date anybody because I didn't want to get with the wrong person and waste my time and like do the whole heartbreak stuff. So like I did definitely sexually harass a lot of kids when I was younger. When I was a toddler, like 3 to 11 more so. And I also was harassed and like assaulted by a lot of other kids myself, which I never get mad about. It's just people like acting out trauma and generational curses. But one of the things is that I always like saw the spiritual side of everything. And so like I knew that I just knew the spiritual ramifications of it. I didn't want to end up schizo, and I didn't want to like have anybody's DNA and stuff go into me, because like when you have sex with somebody, you marry them in the spirit realm, you typically get a soul tie, or at least the woman does, more easily, and your DNA goes into each other, and of course the demonic transference can happen. But this situation was still a ritual, and like sometimes I feel as though I hold myself in like a higher I don't know, I feel like I could blame myself more for certain situations, because like I understand things more than most people, even most quote-unquote grown people, as they call themselves. But I feel like though sometimes things are still really hard to avoid. And I just remember like being really horny and like just like this dark cloud over me, and then there was a barbershop dude, and honestly we're both pretty similar though. He oh yeah, I remember I always described him as a dude that sounded like Pop Smoke. He was from New York. I don't remember exactly where, but he sounded like Pop Smoke. He never told me his name or how old he was. He was maybe like 30 or something, but maybe like his mid to late 20s. But he definitely sounded like Pop Smoke. I do not remember what his face looked like. Like, I remember even then a lot of things in my life were becoming a repressed memory, because I don't remember any of my life really. But it's like, it's not because of really that, it's because of like other stuff that happened around that time with relatives. But what else was it? But yeah, that's all I can really remember. And the funny thing is that the barbershop camera was literally right there, and like I bet like the manager was just watching it, like dang. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this was College Park or something, because like I remember I was riding the bus, but then like I was trying to get back to a certain spot that I liked being at more because I was familiar with it, but I couldn't figure out how to get back there. Or no, actually no, this was before I found that spot. This was like, yeah, this was before then, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so there was that. And so going back to today, I was thinking about that and making a video about that, and about like getting lured in, and how like if if you have these types of issues where, like, if you see people naked or whatever, you just get horny easily, it's easier to get lured into situations. And then, of course, like, the more demonic side of, like, them setting up the encounters. And so I walked to the store, and then I was walking back to the store. This was a couple minutes ago. And so then this dude came down. He came down the road in, like, his car, and he was a Marine Kingdom agent, and so I could see the demons in his eyes and stuff. And I asked him how many babies he sacrificed to Satan, and he said 3. And he said he was about to go and alive somebody. And then he was like, "But do you want to get in my car, though, and get a ride home?" And I was like, "No." I already know, like, how those things work. Like, when I was in Santa Cruz, I had this white lady, which, for whatever reason, only white women want to get with me. But I had this white lady tell me she wanted me to get in her car and get naked for $20 for her to do a satanic ritual with me. And she was telling me about how rich her and her husband were, which they definitely obviously were rich, and how they had good jobs and they traveled and all that stuff, and how, like, they'd adopt me in the ritual side. And it kind of reminded me of that, but I already know that, like, in fact, no, she was talking about if you get in my trunk, I'll, like, give you some snacks or whatever. And I already know that, like, once you get in people's car, you never get out, or they take you out. It kind of reminds me of this video, like, I seen on YouTube where, like, this lady, she was, like, tied up in a car, and the dudes took her out or something and threw her on the ground, and then she started beating them up or something. And then some guys are in the comments talking about this is how women do you. And then somebody replied, and they were like, did you not see the beginning of the video where they took her out the trunk of the car? But, like, yeah, anywho. So he was like, "So do you want to get with me?" And then he, the usual Marine Kingdom lies, because they all say the same things. I noticed the Marine Kingdom demons say the same things to me through people that they say in my dreams and stuff. When I have, like, the Marine Kingdom dreams, and then I have to pray against them when I wake up, which I'm going to talk about that as well. And so, like, he was like, "So do you want to see it?" And I was like, "No," because I was just thinking earlier about how, like, it's so easy to get lured into those types of things, but not for me anymore. I only ever really got lured in once, other than maybe, like, I guess, well, I can't even really count the phone sex addiction, because that doesn't really count. But, like, I don't know, I've kind of always been good at avoiding that type of stuff, which I forgot to finish those sentences, actually. So, like, another thing was that when I was younger and I was, like, really, really demon possessed, which was more so 8 to 9, or no, 8 to 11 still, when I was really demon possessed with the sex demons, a lot of people my age were, like, scared of me anyways, at least at school, because that's where I manifested the most, because I was around more people at that time that I found attractive, because for whatever reason I used to only be attracted to, like, white people more so, but actually I found out I just don't like hood people that are in, like, the feminine thug persona. I just don't find them attractive. But anywho, so, like, where was I? Oh yeah, I was never able to talk people into, like, having sex with me, which is a good thing. And I didn't want to anyways. I just got really demon possessed, to be honest, from the sexual addiction. And actually, a lot of people believe that, like, if you masturbate and you watch porn, then you're gonna, like, feed the urges. You're feeding the demons, actually. And that's another thing about sense running and way that I've realized, and, like, being able to actually get over these issues, is that the more you don't feed them, the more that, like, you become less demon possessed, to be honest. Like, that's really how it works. That's actually why they keep sending Marine Kingdom agents after me, the chomo R-worders, because they have to, like, collect a certain amount of eggs for me, well, okay, wait a minute, how do I summarize it? So, like, how it works is that the Marine Kingdom repopulates the spirit world with your eggs and semen. And they do this by, like, getting you to masturbate, or giving you wet dreams, or even if you, like, fornicate or do whatever other sexual sins. And so then they get your eggs or your semen, and then they can repopulate the marine kingdom. And that's actually why what I realized that myself is that you typically start having the quote-unquote wet dreams. They're really the black magic, marine kingdom, spirit styles, rituals. Once you start having periods, typically it can happen before, but like it could get worse once you start having periods or once your testicles drop or whatever, because then you actually have the eggs or the sperm for them to repopulate the marine kingdom. And like, since my iatrogenic injury years ago, I realized that like my periods don't have a set day anymore. But what I noticed, especially when I was still in my abuse situation, because there was so much abuse going on and so much violence and arguing and demonic activity, it was pretty much a portal for the demons to easily come through to rape whoever they wanted, to awkward whoever they wanted. So like, when I was living with my abusers, it was really easy for the demons to like just like knock me out, or even my relatives to like sexually assault us, but I don't have that stuff happen anymore since leaving. So, anywho, they would do that around the time my period would start, or like a day before or whatever. And it was really interesting to me because the demons know when my period is about to start, but I don't even know when my period is about to start due to the metabolic issues. Well, wait a minute. Not even that. What was I saying? The iatrogenic issues that I got. Not even the metabolic ones, but like just the other ones. Then I'm probably going to be pretty jumpy because like, I guess that's how talking about certain things is for me. But I can only even really recently say the word sex without like, I don't know, like being flashbacky. Not because of things that happened to me, but because of things that I did to other people actually. Even though I've really never had sex with anybody, but it's like even like the harassment stuff I did do when I was younger, like I still have like nightmares, I guess I could say, about like apologizing to those people, even though I did apologize all the time then. And like a lot of the people will be like, honestly, I don't even really remember it, and I really feel more bad for bullying you about the issues you had, because everybody knew you were obviously being abused at home anyway. So yeah, that's what they would tell me. But even still to this day, I have like dreams about them and apologizing and stuff like that. But that's like on the guilt side, I guess I could say. But anywho, yeah, like, and then like even when I did have the few chances where like somebody my age would say, okay, like I'll have sex with you, then I'd be like, actually nah, never mind. And like I would get lucky, I guess I could say, or it was a miracle that I was able to like say never mind once somebody agreed. And that's how I was able to like avoid having sex with people, which is really interesting because most people who are hypersexual aren't able to avoid it, but I have been able to. And so anyways, with the dude in the car earlier, I was like, as usual. But like I said, a lot of the dudes, or most of the dudes around here, are attracted to their own kids. So like, it's just so many Marine Kingdom agents around here. It's definitely not a good place for me, I'd say. It's not a good place for me trying to like go through the deliverance process and get over like the sexual issues that I am. It's just so easy for like Marine Kingdoms to be sent after me back to back, and they use the same lines. And lastly, this morning, and even another morning, but this morning I had another like Marine Kingdom perversion spirit spouse dream that I had to like rebuke and stuff after I woke up. And it was really interesting. I also feel like it like resembles the generational curses on my dad and grandma's side, because my grandma likes younger guys. I don't know a lot about that. I just know that my mom and her boyfriend would do that thing where Jezebelic abusers will whisper stuff, and they would purposely whisper very badly to try to get you to ask questions about what they're talking about, so that way when you ask a question, they can curse you out for it and be like, do I look like I'm talking to you? Stuff like that. But anywho, they were talking about like how my dad's dad is younger than my grandma. I don't even know how old she is, so I don't know, but I never met the dude either. I didn't even know my dad had a dad till like a little before I ran away, when he had mentioned him. And he was like, yeah, my dad's blind and his wife helps him around and he likes to wear nice suits. And I was like, dang, I always thought that you didn't know who your dad, I'm not going to say that, but like, I thought that he didn't know who his dad was, or like he passed away or something. I didn't even know he had a dad. And it's like, it's really weird, like dysfunctional family systems and the stuff you'll find out last minute. And I was like, you have a dad? But anywho, my grandma liked younger guys. I'm sure she was essayed. Of course, my mom and my dad were essayed multiple times throughout their lives. Their first quote-unquote boyfriends and girlfriends were chomos. My dad was also s3x sex trafficked by lawyers and judges who were also racist, which is a leading factor in the traffic, actually. Because they would press like false charges on him and other boys and be like, okay, if you let us sodomize you, then we'll drop your charges. And they also essayed and turned out their own sons. These are white dudes, and they had wives, of course. Bishopville, South Carolina, and other places. And what else was it? Oh yeah, the infantilizing Jezebelic mom. My dad has one of those, as I mention all the time. I always felt like since I was really young that they were dating because they just act too weird together. Like, I even remember a little before I ran away, like when I would like sleep with my dad. Well, I didn't do it in like really that often, but what happened was my grandma's house is definitely haunted. I actually have videos of it. I still have some pictures because I had a top bunk and like there were ants that would come out the ceiling at 3 a.m. and I was like, and because there was like holes in the ceiling, because not big holes, but like in the corner, because of poor construction and the house was super old. And I was like, because I was going through sleep deprivation abuse since I was 8, and I was like, nah, I must just be tired. There's no way in the world that this is real. But actually, still to this day, I have like bumps, not bumps, but I have marks going up my back from like, kind of like, well, going all the way up my back pretty much, and like all the way down from the ant bites. And I thought that I was tripping. I thought that it was like, I just thought I was tripping, but like really, there was actually ants coming out the ceiling at 3 a.m. And I was like, yeah, no. And then like, my dad said that I could just sleep in bed with him because the ants were like biting me, and there was a lot of ants in the bed, and they were like on the floor and stuff. And he was like, yeah, because we got a spray in here. Shoot, we needed more than spray. But anywho, because weird stuff always happened when I was around my dad and grandma. That was where, honestly, the most demonic stuff happened. Like, my grandma's house is where I got really demon-possessed. But anywho, when I was sleeping in bed with my dad, my grandma was like, yeah, I need to stop doing that. And I was like, okay. But I'm not going to lie, though, I was really hesitant when he said that I could sleep in his bed. But then I was like, whatever, because he was barely there. But he was also a prostitute. And so, like, I guess that's another reason my grandma didn't want me to sleep in his bed. Because, like, he would sneak girls over. And they would, like, pay him and vice versa, really. But anywho, I remember this one time when I was a lot younger. And I was, like, sleeping in bed with him. And he was like, I told him that I loved him before I went to sleep, and then he was like, as the boyfriend, and I was like, and I was like, nah, never again. That was when I was like probably 8 or 9 though, and so there was that. Where was I getting at? I'm trying to remember where I was getting at. Oh yeah, I was bringing up the generational curses, and so then my dad he went from like liking chomos or older women to liking younger women or women who are way too young for him, quote unquote women. Like, well, I kind of mentioned some of this in my video, Everybody Hated Me Because of One Man, which is about how like a lot of my siblings and even adult abusers were jealous of me because I had a dad that I could actually call, and that made my mom's boyfriend jealous of me, and he also wanted to be with my dad. There was a lot of stuff with that. I talk about that in that video that I'm going to put in the description if I remember. I'm getting pretty shaky because I guess all this may be like kind of re-traumatizing, but anywho, all of that stuff would happen, and like that's a summary of like the generational sexual issues, and then me moving to my mom and going through covert essay with her, from her and my brother, her sending my brother to watch me shower, and her watching me shower, and the other covert essay that she would do, and then like, of course, her issues, her boyfriend, girl, well, both my mom and my dad's boyfriend, girlfriend, baby daddy, baby mama drama, whatever in the world stuff. And then incest, abuse, sibling essay, which is promoted, stuff like that. And so that's like the generational curse type that I feel like this dream kind of talked about, because like in the dream my dad and grandma were there, and like my dad, we were homeless, which is kind of like my life story, I guess. And so like some dude who actually looks like this chomo dude that I see pretty often, that I never, well, I'm not even going to go into that because I'll be somewhere else, but it was this like big dude and this big white dude that I actually see all the time. He looked similar. And so like he told my dad that like we could stay at his hotel for a night, something that my dad would never agree to in real life, which is very interesting. But the perversion demons just give like weird dreams, also telling of their plans, because their goal is to destroy people and to fracture their soul completely and make them split into being schizo, and to take away what little 1% of innocence you do have. And so, anywho, like, we woke up the next morning, me and my dad, and so my dad, or I guess my grandma came, and we were supposed to be, like, moving the stuff into her car. My dad stepped out the door for 1 second, I think to go put something in my grandma's car, and then the dude who we were staying with, he locked the door on my dad while my dad was outside. And so then that's when he tried to assault me, because I was still laying down on the couch. And so then I started beating him up. And then like my dad and my grandma, they ended up like busting the door down with the police. And that was that dream. And then like a week or so ago, I had another dream with my dad and my quote unquote stepmom, funny enough, who is way too young for him. She was the usual infantilized kid, and she had to pay bills as a quote-unquote child, as people like to say. And she had to raise her sister, pay bills, and she was raised to pretty much take care of chomos, which is how she ended up with my dad and with plenty of other dudes that she's been with. And she is an extreme enabler, has serious cognitive dissonance and serious suppressed memories, and doesn't remember jack diddly. And it's very unfortunate. Like my baby sister, which was her first kid, she had through being R-worded by my dad every day until I guess she eventually got pregnant. And so anyhow, my quote unquote stepmom was there, and we were in a car, and some dude was like trying to like manipulate me into getting with him. And then my stepmom somehow got his phone, and she was like, yeah, he has a lot of pictures on his phone that like make me feel uncomfortable. And I was looking at the pictures too, and my dad was looking at him, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to beat this dude up. Which honestly, I couldn't really say if in real life, I don't think my dad would beat up a guy who does something to me. Not that I talk to like any of those people anyways, because they're not safe themselves. Like honestly, I feel like if I wasn't as underdeveloped as I am, my dad probably would have assaulted me if I actually like wasn't extremely underdeveloped, even compared to most people way younger than me. But it's like, I don't know though, because I know I had this one sister on my dad's side who lived with her mom, and my dad would always be like, I must have been drunk when I got with her because I don't even like white girls. But she would like have boyfriends even as a kid that would be sticking brooms up her and horrible things happen, to be honest. And my dad wanted to go fight them, and she'd be like, no, if you fight my boyfriend, I'm going to call the police on you. Because of course, like Stockholm syndrome, she's used to being abused, etc., etc. Very unfortunate situation. So like maybe my dad would, but I feel like a lot of it's just talk. It's all just talk. Like if that was the case, he would have beat up my mom's ex-husband for what he did to my older scapegoat sister that they drove crazy from being essayed by my mom's husband, and plenty of other people, but my mom would always cover it up. And my dad found out about it because my mom's husband was running around bragging about it, but then people in the neighborhood told my dad about it because nobody really knew who my mom's husband was talking about when he was running around saying, I've been getting my wife's daughters to have oral sex with me, and people didn't know which ones, so people started telling my dad. It supposedly came in my mom's husband, even though he's way bigger than my dad, hid behind the door. But it's like, I mean, shoot, he didn't do anything, and my older scapegoat sister was still supposed to be his like step kid at least, when I was a baby and before I was a baby, even years before I was born. And like even with the stuff that my mom's boyfriend would do to me and my dad didn't care, because like all abusers work together. I don't believe he would actually like do something to somebody if they did do something to me, but it's still really interesting just how the dream played out. And then of course I've mentioned other perversion dreams I've had that I've heard other people have, like in actually no, the YouTuber, his YouTube channel name is Hold My Nuts, and he would do live streams a lot in the past with this dude whose YouTube channel is Deliverance Chronicles. He might have changed the name to Deliverance Network, but he talked about how one time he had a perversion dream, or a perversion spirit dream, where like there was some girl and she was like a grown woman, but then like she got younger. And I've had perversion dreams like that, but they were different. Actually, I've had both before. I've had them where like there's a chomo, and then like they're an elderly dude at first, but then they turn into like a baby, or like not a baby, but like a really young boy who's probably too young for me even. And then I've also had dreams that were the other way around as well. And overall, the thing is that when you start really working towards breaking free from the spirit spouse marriage covenant, the generational curses, and just the demonization, and you're not giving the demons what they want, they'll send Marine Kingdom agents after you to try to kidnap you, hard word you, molest you, different stuff like that, and lure you into stuff.